Thomas, the famous engine. One day, the Fat Controller spoke to all the engines in the big station.
John Fairley, a famous artist, is going to the railway to paint one of my engines. The painting will be put on show and lots of people will see it.
All the engines secretly hoped that Mr. Fairley would choose them. Being painted was a great honour. The engines wondered what their painting would be like. Crowds of people would come and admire them.
"Mr. Fairley could paint me as a hard-working little engine," said Percy excitedly, "with my trucks in the yard."
"He'll want something striking," James said smugly, "and you don't get much more striking than a splendid red engine like me. My painted shiny brass will look magnificent."
Striking indeed, chortled Gordon. He'll want to do a painting of me steaming along, fast and powerful. Something people can admire, and in your case, aspire to.
It would be nice to be painted with one of the smaller engines, said Edward humbly.
"He could paint me with a heavy goods train steaming through the countryside," Henry thought proudly. "Just think how smart my shiny green paint would look." Thomas was busily shunting in the yard. He hoped he would be chosen too.
"Mr. Fairley could paint me as a busy little engine," he chuffed to himself.
Soon Mr. Fairley arrived on the railway and began looking at all the engines. Everyone wanted to be chosen, but he could only paint one. Which would it be? Gordon, Henry, and James waited impatiently in the yard, trying to pose as impressively as possible. Percy meandered around pretending to marshal trucks into sidings, hoping he'd be noticed by Mr. Fairley. When Thomas arrived with Annie and Clarabel, he thought it a great joke when he saw the engines posing.
"Am I the only one doing any work today?"
he chuckled as he prepared to go and shunt trucks to take to the mines. Mr. Fairley caught sight of Thomas and smiled.
"Hold on a minute,"
he called, and stopped Thomas as he made his way to the yards. He turned to the Fat Controller.
"I'm going to paint Thomas because he is keen and busy, and he has a cheeky face."
Thomas was pleased. The next day, he stayed in the big station as the others steamed off for the day. Percy was going to do Thomas's work. He was looking forward to working with Annie and Clarabel. Mr. Fairley told Thomas what to do.
"Back a bit," he said. "Now, keep quite still. Don't move, Martha."
Thomas had to stay still for hours while Mr. Fairley painted. He couldn't move at all. He felt very bored indeed. Thomas worried about his branch line. "I hope Percy runs the trains to time," he thought. "It wouldn't do if the passengers were late." He wouldn't wait to get back to work. It was a long, boring day for Thomas. But at last, Mr. Fairley's painting was finished.
"Yeah, thank you for your patience, Thomas. You've been an excellent subject matter."
Mr. Fairley turned his canvas to let Thomas see the finished painting. Thomas thought it looked splendid, but was glad it was all over. In the shed that night, Thomas couldn't wait to hear what the other engines had been up to. But the others wanted to hear about his day.
"What was it like being painted?" asked Percy. "Good fun?"
"It was all right," said Thomas, "but not half as much fun as working on my own branch line."